Stock market is a platform where investors and stock sellers meet in order to sell investments, most commonly stocks, which are shares of ownership in a public company. Now, most people has a misconception that investing in stocks equates to gambling, or the stock market is an exclusive club for brokers and rich people only. That was way long before. Nowadays, almost everyone can invest in stock market. It was neither a gambling game, but an investment opportunity for an ownership in a company. So here's today's update on the stock market. COMEX copper futures is down by minus 7.1% to $3.84 pound in heavy volume as doubts rise about the sustainability of the rally that just days ago took the metal within striking distance of an all-time high. The sink has spilled into the equity markets, with top copper producers sinking deeply into the red, falling between minus 2.6% to 9.6%. Research firms suggest some of the fundamental factors that have supported prices are beginning to fade as record-setting Chinese imports likely will ease and South American mine supply companies makes a rebounding after a year of pandemic-related disruptions. Meanwhile, London nickel prices dips down minus 8.5% to $15,945 per metric ton, and prices in Shanghai slumped the most in 9 months after a major deal by top Chinese stainless steel producer Tsingshan eased worries of battery-grade nickel supply shortages. The drop in industrial metals is a long time coming, says Saxo Bank analyst Ole Hansen, pointing to a huge influx of speculative investment that drove prices to multi-year highs. Nansen thinks underlying supply and demand fundamentals for copper still point to higher prices in the longer term. But in the short term, a rapid rise in U.S. bond yields threatens all risk assets, including metals. Next, Costco has released its mixed financial results for the second quarter of 2021. The 3-month period that ended February 14, 2021. Surprisingly, its revenue exceeded analyst forecasts, and comparable sales grew faster than expected. The company's e-commerce sales were up 75.8%. Known for their humongous warehouses filled with general merchandise, has witnessed accelerating earnings and revenue growth during the COVID-19 pandemic. Consumer preferences have shifted amid the pandemic, with shoppers spending more on food, appliances, and home goods at big box store chains like Costco. Consumers are also buying more via online purchases due to lockdown restrictions, helping to boost Costco's e-commerce sales. It takes a long time before the stock market recognized Costco's promising opportunity. Its shares have dramatically underperformed the broader market. Over the past year, the stock managed to avoid the worst of the pandemic-induced market crash that took place early last year. It then began to perform on par with the rebounding market from early June to early September, when it started to outperform. That outperformance did not last. However, as the stock reached a peak at the beginning of December and has trended lower ever since, Costco shares have provided a total return of 9.9% over the past 12 months, less than half the S&P 500's total return of 25.2%. On the other hand, shares of Zoom Video Communications Incorporated plus 0.45% rose by 0.45% higher to $343.09 Thursday on what proved to be an all-around poor trading session for the stock market, with the Nasdaq Composite Index minus 2.11% falling to 12,723.47, and Dow Jones Industrial down by minus 1.11% to 30,924.14. The stock's rise snapped a 2-day losing streak. Zoom Video Communications Incorporated closed to $145.75 short of its 52-week high, which the company reached on October 19. Moderna, one of the largest COVID-19 vaccine provider, has just suffered a plunge of minus 7.2% lower. As of 12:03 p.m. estate on Wednesday, it marked the second consecutive day of declines for the stock this week. Expert says that the reason is most likely due to the entrance of another COVID-19 vaccine company giant, Johnson & Johnson, who've just gotten an emergency use authorization from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration for its vaccine over the weekend. Another reason that may have swayed some stock buyers is the research publication about Pfizer, BioNTech, and AstraZeneca's vaccine that overly reduced the possibility of hospitalization for elderly patients. Major virus developments such as various strains are also being watched on how it could affect the efficacy of Moderna vaccines. On the meme stock updates, Melvin Capital, who've gotten famous for its Wall Street bets fiasco, has reported gains of more than 20% in February after being brutalized by a retail investor-led short squeeze a month earlier, CNBC reported last Wednesday, after suffering a 53% short squeeze in its acclaimed stock battle against Redditors. From our Wall Street bets, which attracted an international crowd of audiences, the squeeze, if will be recalled, has sent shares of GameStop Corporation, AMC Entertainment Holdings Incorporated, BlackBerry Limited, and others soaring. Meanwhile, in Asia, South Korean and Chinese stocks are in a down pitch after negative sentiment on Wall Street and concerns about rising bond yields spilled over into the region. The Japanese stock index lost 1.8%, while Hong Kong suffered by 2.6%, which dragged down the Japanese yen. In Asian trading, the 10-year U.S. Treasury was trading at just below 1.48%. Bond prices fall when yields rise. Australian bond turns into surge in early trade, tracking a sell-off in the U.S. 10-year that lifted the yield curve to its steepest point since 2015. Japan's benchmark yield dropped as the central bank governor quashed speculation that the trading band for the 10-year might be widened. The U.S. dollar strengthened against nearly all major peers. Lastly, in the oil industry updates, oil prices rose after the OPEC, or Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries Alliance, surprised traders with its decision to keep output unchanged. Along with Russia, OPEC refused to add a production supply of oil. The move is a victory for Saudi Energy Minister Abdulaziz bin Salman, who has consistently urged the market to be cautious on the pace of a global recovery from the pandemic, while also periodically accommodating Russia's eagerness to open taps wider on any sign of recovery. Brent, the international crude benchmark, was trading in the early afternoon up more than 5% at $67.55 a barrel, its highest level since January 2020. Futures for West Texas Intermediate, the U.S. benchmark, were up 5% at $64.60 a barrel, its highest intraday level since April 2019. This month of March promises a lot of things in online predictions concerning stock markets, such as the following. Number 1. Earnings season will wrap up strong. More S&P 500 companies and bellwether stocks will be reporting quarterly earnings in March. Earnings results have been really positive so far, showing a return to growth and profitability at the end of 2020. Target, Costco Wholesale, Ross Stores, AutoZone, Nordstrom, and Nike are among the retailers that will provide updates on how retail fared over the holiday season. Zoom Video Communications and FedEx are also reporting quarterly results, and they should both provide insights on how consumer and corporate behavior may have permanently changed following the spike in remote work and e-commerce last year. Number 2 is that fiscal stimulus will impact stock prices. If the American Rescue Plan Act is signed into law, it should have immediate positive effects on the stock market. If the last two stimulus checks are a good guide, the next round will cause many individual investors to purchase stocks. It should also translate to higher sales for consumer goods companies. Those forces would push stocks higher in the immediate term, and this seems to be the most likely scenario. The market already reflects the potential likelihood of that stimulus hitting bank accounts, so stock prices would likely come down if the bill can't clear the Senate. Moreover, fiscal stimulus is likely to cause some consumer price inflation. These are the stock market updates from BearishBulls. Subscribe to our channel for more market updates.